Welcome to Toni Talks Humanity Matters. This is your host, Toni Julian, and today we are going to talk about intentions and manifestations. So today we have a really special person on, someone that has just become very dear to my heart, Ryan Wilaby. Welcome.
Thank you, Toni. I am so happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm absolutely delighted. This is probably going to be so useful for people. So Ryan, you are a spiritual guide, a channeler, a teacher of esoterics, a mystic, and you also have a business called Quantum Shift, which is just this amazing endeavor that you do to help people elevate themselves. And today I want to talk with you about manifestation and also intentions, and how people can bring more into their lives so they can really find their true purpose, bring that happiness and joy into their lives, and really just kind of walk into their space. So with that, will you share, let's just start with a little bit about yourself. I'm sure people are really curious to know about your background and how you got started on this journey.
I would love to. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. Yeah, so I started Quantum Shift in the end of about 2011 into 2012. I had a corporate gig, the corporate job before that. I came up through banking and finance, and like through my teenage years all the way up into my mid to late 30s. Yeah. And I've always had a real inclination or drive to find the answers to the big questions. And when I was real young, I remember just thinking, within my lifetime, we will know so much more than we know now about what our existence is, what this is about, why, what are we doing? And so I've always had that inquisitive drive, the philosopher's quest of, really going inward and figuring out what is going on. Why are we here? The big question, right?
Good question.
And yeah, so I was fortunate enough to kind of be raised by a village. My parents were very busy living and figuring out their lives, individuals, being humans, right? Which left a big opportunity for me to have experience with other families and other adults, and getting a wide range of understanding or how people would flow through life and how they would experience life, and a lot about how not to do life and how to do life. And within that, I got the experience of Christianity. I was within a household that was Wiccan, that grew up understanding paganism, Celtic religion, old pagan religions, witchcraft. I grew up with a witch who, through generations on the female side, the gift and the knowledge and the book of shadows was passed down. That all opened me up to understand energy and just different ways of how life and energy can show up for people. And then that led me into my business career, my career in business and in the corporate world, and really applying energy and how to use energy, that I am energy, everything is energy, and how that looked in the corporate world, and to really use that to help advance myself within the company, the ranks and income. And and to build the kind of career that was going to suit a lifestyle that I wanted as well. and used that, worked that up, and then came to the point to where, yes, this is kind of picture perfect, but it is not serving the higher purpose. And so it was, that whole thing of being in the corporate career of the spiritual person who leaves and goes on their quest. And so at that point, I really started going really deep into meditation, into yoga, hiring my own personal yoga guru that lived in India for 3 years in an ashram that came back to the States. And I worked with him one-on-one, and not to do yoga, but to really go into the Sanskrit, the mantras, the meditation, Reiki, did practicing of Reiki on me, really working on me energetically. It's a lot of belief systems and things that I took on from my childhood and from corporate energetically that I was bringing with me as well. So working through those, got into an institution called IPEC, which is International Professional Excellence in Coaching. And it was really a modality all based on energy, and it's a life coaching program. And I started up my own coaching business then in 2011, and kind of moonlighted that with my corporate business because I did work from home and was able to schedule my work as I wanted. And then from there, I really went full time, and I resigned from my corporate job at the peak of my career, when everyone really thought that this was like, you could ride it out then at that point.
Like Seinfeld.
Yeah. And I moved to Bali, Indonesia. And so I sold everything I owned. What I didn't sell, I gave away. And I went with literally 2 roller bags and of clothes, work materials, and a laptop computer. I didn't have a hotel room booked. I didn't know where I was going when the plane landed. I'd never been there, and I didn't know anyone there. Literally got off the plane, got into a cab, and told them to take me to the Captain Hook bar. Is the only thing that I knew. Of course, the cabbie didn't know what the Captain Hook bar was. So I said, just drive along the beach, and we'll keep asking all the other taxi drivers along the way if they know where the bar was. They did. I landed. I got a room across the street at the hotel that was across the street from that bar. And the journey began, and I started building my coaching business from there. And that's been 10 years ago. And it's been morphed into not just a life coach working in energy and helping people build, because I was working with a lot of executives, business owners, entrepreneurs, and I still love that venue and that avenue. But what I was doing the whole time in this life coaching was really spiritual work. I was connecting people with their spirit and their soul plan, their soul contracts and agreements, so that they could really flow and move with the divine life plan that they came here to live out. And so that just started morphing into that, and that kind of leads me where I am here today and doing the spiritual guidance and the spiritual work while I work with people.
Well, that's such a beautiful story, and I love how you just became completely unencumbered. Right? You just left everything material behind. You had an idea where you wanted to go. You didn't make any specific plans around it. That, in a lot of people's minds would be like, wow, that's brave. That's just like, some people don't even like going to a restaurant to eat by themselves, right? If you think about what kind of normal people in society will do, but how completely freeing. And I think there are a lot of people like you that have done that. They've left corporate work. They've like have some passion, they have some calling. So I know this will resonate with a lot of people, because what you went through shows up in people's lives in a lot of different ways, doesn't it?
It does. Absolutely, it does. And I want to add in here just real quick is that you don't have to leave your corporate job. You don't have to get rid of all of your material possessions. You don't have to move to the other side of the world and to be in a culture and in a language you don't know and not know. You don't have, you can. And if you're called to do that, do it. But we have so much to assist us in coming into our own, in coming into our relationship with ourself and our spirit, more now than we have ever had in the history of humankind, energetically assisting us that, it doesn't, you don't have to go drastic, unless you're called to do that. I mean, everyone's going to have their thing, but I think it's really important because it can seem overwhelming. It can be like, well, then I'm just, that's not me, and I can't imagine myself doing that. Your path will be different, and it will look different, and it'll show up that is exactly, meant for you. Because I think people kind of think that they need to be the minimalist in order to be spiritual. And it's just not a truth. It could be for some people, but it doesn't have to be that for everybody.
Well, yes, and we are all spiritual. We are all souls living in a human body for experiences on this earth. So we could be anywhere in whatever form that takes. And I know personally, I have reinvented myself many times, and lately, and also with your help and with your amazing wisdom and influence, is integrating the spiritual aspects into what I do, which is why you and I are here together on this podcast. Is that, to me, that is a way of manifesting something really quite amazing. So can you share now a little bit about your gifts? I want to call it clairsentience, because you just have this knowing, right? You don't hear words or see visions as I do. So we all have different gifts, and they're all developed in different ways, right? So can you tell me what you went through, like what your transformation was about to bring these gifts about? And then we're going to go into the actual manifestation topic.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So I guess the awareness of the gift came into my knowing just in the last part of 2020, just a few months ago, 6-7 months ago, in September and October, of the clairsentient coming in, and just having a knowing. And I was also starting to receive channeled information from Archangel Metatron. And I wasn't even aware who he was, that there was an Archangel Metatron. I didn't know this. And he was being introduced to me first through the sacred geometry. Archangel Metatron works within sacred geometry and in colors. And when that started happening, the awareness it brought to me is what I've always had this. I just didn't know it. And clairsentient, there is a lot of us out there that don't know that they have or they are using this gift, because it's just a knowing, right? A friend may be talking to you and you already know the end of the story and where they're going and how you might be able to help them or assist them. You don't really need to hear the whole story. So you might interrupt them. So clairsentient people who don't know they have this skill can sometimes seem really kind of rude. They're interrupting people a lot. They seem like know-it-alls because they just know stuff. And people are like, well, how would you know that? They kind of be dismissed for that. And so then you will question yourself, like, well, how would I know this? When I started coaching and working with my clients, I didn't realize that that's what I was doing, but I knew I was really effective with my clients. And what's beautiful in that relationship is in the beginning, you can ask, do I have permission to interrupt if I feel like we could, fine tune and bring us in together to really, get the best value out of our time together, because, so that was happening. And then in our sessions, I would stream information that would serve the client. And at that time, and I still think this happens, is that I think that the higher consciousness or the higher self, the spirit being, will move through me to provide the answers that the client is looking for. So it's still them receiving their own information of what, and it'll come through me. And so it'll stream, information will come and I'll be giving, and they'll be like, oh my God, can you repeat that? And I'll be like, no, I'm sorry, I can't. I don't even really know what kind of just went through me. Yeah. So that was the first understanding, that I was having this information move through me. I didn't fully understand it. Go through 20, did that for years, just let it be, work with my clients, and however that worked through. I didn't even try to want to question it just because it was working. But then through 2020 and coming through 2020, I went through another spiritual awakening. And that went just deeper layers, right? It's always a journey. There will always be more awakenings as we're in the space of allowance. But when I started receiving the information from Archangel Metatron to let me know what was happening to me and myself physically, and the connection with my soul and my spirit and the soul agreements and soul contracts, he was also letting me know that I was receiving gifts also. And that some of the gifts I already had, but I will have now words for them or meanings of what that is. And the clairsentient it was one of them. And it really kind of just brought the whole big picture together for me to better understand it. One of the challenges, I think, with somebody who's clairsentient is, you don't hear the answer. You don't see the answer. You just know. So it is a real thing of trust, a trusting of yourself, and a trust in your spirit, and a trust in your guides who are giving you information that will serve you and guide you. And I think this is going to be one of the biggest gifts that we're seeing come online for people who are going through the evolution of consciousness, is the clairsentient, because spirit is going to be wanting more and more trust from us, to trust ourselves, because at the end of it, all of this is ourselves. When we speak about unity consciousness, we're all one, and our higher self is always working to reach us, to give us information to best serve us, to allow us to move in the most graceful, divine way, for expression of ourselves and of the divine. And so the trust is integral in that process. And it's going to be entrusting your own knowing of the information that comes to you. And I think that will continue to be, along with some other gifts that will be coming online too, that be really cool and fun and interesting to see happen.
So true, like telepathy, and I'm already starting to experience some of those things. It's been quite an amazing journey. As you're talking, it's occurring to me, we're thinking about manifestation and everything. It's like that trust in ourselves, and what comes up around that for me is intuition. So many of us, how many of us have said, oh, you know what, something just kind of hit me about that, but I ignored it, or I had a feeling I didn't quite. So, I think with these things that maybe some of our listeners are going through, is that there's subtleties. It's not like whack, hit you over the head and look, you're this or you're that, or you have this gift. It's like, really being in touch with yourself and paying attention to those intuitive things. And some people are just innately a little more sensitive. Like I grew up super sensitive. So and how open are we, right? So if people are listening to this, I would say they're pretty open. At this point, if you're listening to this level of conversation, they're going to be open. So it's taking that intuition, and and that word trust just totally came up for me too, as trusting yourself, trusting your higher self, trusting God. And I don't mean that in a religious way, but the divine higher consciousness. So that is so amazing. So I'm excited because I want to hear from you about manifestation, and in the context of, for people listening, like if they've been in business or came from the business world like you and I did, corporate world, up the ladder, get reviews, get bonuses, hit the road, sales contracts, all that is, we're accustomed to a certain vernacular, which is objectives, goals, strategies, tactics, working toward a political end, not political, a particular end. Well, maybe sometimes it's political.
Corporate can have some political ends to it.
Yeah. How did that word weasel its way into our conversation? So, so we are so ingrained and accustomed, like everybody can relate to that, right? Is like we have a goal, but and then we have that the objective is actually the intention, right? It's just a matter of vernacular, what we want to accomplish, right? So if we have it in our minds, can you talk about manifestation and not only in terms of how people can bring that into their lives to be more conscious of it, because if you can start with perhaps how we all manifest every single moment of every single day, right? Can you start there perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be great.
And I want to just a thing about the word God, because I will probably use that.
Right.
And I am a spiritual being, and I am not associated with any religion or anything of that. And I would just like to just kind of release the word God while we're here in this video anyway. And if you're finding this video and you're hearing this, then I would like for you to be able to release the definition around God, that Christianity or organized religion gets to own that. The word God has been around and its meaning way before any organized religion ever came about, and I started adopting and using that word. So I feel like it's kind of taking the power away, or the stigma away from the word God, because it is the source, it is light, it is all of that we can give it all these other names. So I just like that you brought that up, and I kind of wanted to expound on that a little bit.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. Manifesting. Yeah, we are always manifesting, whether we realize it or not. And I think that if you want to become a conscious manifester, then this is the first thing you need to realize, is that the power that you hold, the creator that you are, it's just that you're manifesting and you are creating your reality at all times. It's just that you're doing it in a unconscious state. And when that happens, it goes into a default mode. You're manifesting in default mode. So it'll manifest based upon what your current frequency is, meaning your level of consciousness. Everything is energy. That's the second component you need to know if you want to become a conscious creator, is that everything is energy and you're always manifesting at all times. Everything has a resonance or a frequency to it, and that resonance or frequency is being drawn to the same of its like. So we live in an attraction universe, meaning like energy is attracted to like energy. If you are not aware that you are manifesting at all times, then you are just going to be manifesting at your base frequency that you currently are at. Your base, if you're not consciously aware that you are an energetic being, then your default frequency is also going to be that of what is matching the collective consciousness. You're just going to fall in the collective consciousness realm, the frequency. What creates the collective frequency and your own personal frequency is your belief system, that has been imprinted upon you since birth, in the womb. And some agreements and your soul agreements and soul contracts that you agreed to as a spirit being that decided to come in and focus your energy to manifest into a physical form, to have expression in the physical reality that we call Earth, the life on Earth. And so you made agreements and belief systems to come in to have a baseline frequency, to be able then to have experiences to allow yourself to say, I do not want this experience, I want this, now you are going to move to a higher level of frequency, and you are going to start manifesting things that you desire rather than the things that you do not. And that is the tool that creates the evolution of consciousness, to move away from that of what I do not want, to become a higher frequency of energy, to be able to manifest that of what I do. So yeah, we are manifesting at all times. And that awareness in itself, if you can look at your reality, if you can look at your life, if you can look at your relationships, if you can look at your prosperity, you can look at your abundance, if you can look at your respect in your community, at your business, in your family, in your relationships, you get to take ownership of exactly how that is showing up, because you're manifesting that based off of your level of consciousness, your frequency of your being that you're emitting, you will be attracting. And that frequency is based upon your belief system, a lot around your worth, because your worth is what is going to determine what your frequency is as well. Does that make sense?
It does. It makes a lot of sense. You know, what comes to mind are people who say, oh, you know, I just can't cut a break. And, you know, people who go through their lives and just like this happens and that happens and that happens. And they just, they are not conscious when things happen to people that are painful. It's not like they wish that on themselves, but they really don't know perhaps why it's happening. And so you're saying that if they can bring their resonance up to a higher level, they will start attracting higher level experiences and things in their lives. So for someone who is at that point, are there maybe a couple of easy things that they can do to bring up their resonance? Like I learned this one thing in Qigong, which is you literally, you know, people that sing bring up their frequency, people that dance, people that are laughing. And so there's just this one thing. Yeah, dancing, right? This one thing I learned where you sit in a chair and you stomp your feet and you clap your hands and you just laugh out loud, like there's no tomorrow. Laughter, it can heal illness. It can bring, you know, bring people out of depression. And so, you know, those kinds of things. There's some things that you have done, or like, okay, you know, maybe you're not feeling like you're having that great of a day and you're feeling like your energy is kind of low from an energetic standpoint. What can people do? Just a couple of quick things, perhaps.
Yes. Well, you mentioned some great ones, which are great energy shifters, right? Another one is, you know, so much of the time where we are in lower vibration or frequency or energy, whatever you want to call it, it's because we are living in the past. We're replaying something from the past, and we're living a story out in our mind, and we don't even realize we're doing it. So it really is awareness around what your mind is doing. And it's about training your mind, if it wants to go to the past, to look at the stuff that you are grateful for. You want to visit the past and it's starting to tell a story about how your mom did this on this date and didn't show up or didn't blah, 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 whatever. Acknowledge it, number one, and be like, all right, ego, that's the ego mind that's just going down memory trail, that is reminding you of scenarios, that is trying to protect you from future events that might look like that. It's not serving you. So when you notice that that is happening, just train your mind to move to things in the past that brought you joy, that were really great experiences. The time that my mom was at the soccer game and that I shot the goal and like she cheered and we talked about it on the way home, right? You can just train it. If you find it going that way, this is a modality of gratefulness, of gratitude. Gratitude is a shifter. Yeah. But this is like a specific thing that you can move through your past to have specific events that can really fill you with positive energy. Yeah. So that's a great one. I think laughter is a huge one. So what is happening when you're in a low energy, low frequency consciousness is your ego mind is active. And it's, so some of your people here that are going to find this, if you don't know like the ego mind and the conscious, but the ego mind is what I like to call like the inner critic. And in my work and my modality, I call it the gremlin. And we go through an exercise where you name the gremlin, it becomes an identity. And it's actually your altered ego, the one that creates the stories, the one that goes in the past. So if you can just identify when that altered ego is showing up and is talking and doing that, you know that you are not that altered ego. Ask yourself, who is hearing the conversation in the mind? That is who you are, the observer. And the observer can actually laugh at the ego mind, the gremlin, who is going through all of this painful experience, right? And really kind of remove yourself to know that you are not it, that you are of the highest consciousness, the observer. And from there, you can transmute the experience, the memory, the bitching, whatever the ego mind is doing in that moment, to allow it to do it, to not fight it, but then maybe redirect it and kind of laugh and giggle at the whole experience of what it is creating, because it is not real, right? So that's a powerful one. And then awareness of your thoughts and your words. So I'm really staying on the theme of this thoughts, right? And the conversation in the mind. And I would like to break it down this way into energy. Energy is two forms of energy: anabolic energy and catabolic energy. Anabolic energy is a building up creation process. Catabolic energy is a breaking down, tearing down process. No right or wrong, good or bad. They're both within this reality that we are moving through of duality is needed for the expression and the experience of the physical form that we agreed to come here and to move through. We have free will to use catabolic energy, breaking down, tearing down, or anabolic energy, creation, building, building. Your thoughts and your words are either going to fall in one of two categories: anabolic or catabolic. So if you're not feeling really, you're in a lower level and you're just like, ugh, bring attention to what is going on in your mind again. And pay attention to what is coming out of your mouth in words as you're having basic conversations with people. And if they are words and thoughts that you could say, ooh, this is more of a breaking down, tearing down process, I call it flip the script. How can you reframe or rewrite the thought or the words that are coming out that move it from catabolic into anabolic energy? You can get an immediate shift in your body and in your being just by being aware of the thought. And if it's catabolic, reframing it into anabolic phrasing. Super powerful.
Yeah, I love that. And one of the things that I practice is not just catching yourself, but if that thought form is out there, I'm like, delete, 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 like take that and recycle it, like get rid of it. To me, it's air pollution, right?
I retract that from the universe.
Yes, exactly.
That's my words. And that's the exact phrase I use with my clients. It's like,
yeah,
and I'll say something, and if I'm out in a social gathering and I could say something, I'll be like, I retract that from the universe. And they'll be like, what? And I'm like, yeah, don't even worry about it. But I do.
That was actually for everybody's benefit, though. They don't
exactly.
Retracting that. Exactly. Yeah. So people, I think, one of the big revelations I had not that long ago is just thoughts are things, right? They're energetic and it's like a radio wave and you don't see it, but it is absolutely there. And I think like all those thoughts that get together, that is what creates this, kind of unconscious universal thought, these things that just all cluster together.
We're talking about manifestation, right? We're talking about we're manifesting at all times, whether we realize it or not.
Yes.
So this is the very first step of being a conscious creator and manifester, is what is my thoughts doing? Because your thoughts create your emotions and your feelings. When your thoughts and your words that you use are attached to emotions and feelings, the universe now is moving in double time to bring it into a physical reality. So you're manifesting at all times, whether you realize it or not. Like that is the very first thing you need to know. Now that you know that, now it's to bring awareness of what am I thinking and what am I projecting? What is my vibration and frequency that is allowing me to draw in that of, do I want it or do I not? Do I want all of the things that I'm negatively thinking about? Because that's what I'm going to get. Where focus goes, energy flows.
That's
right?
right.
With all of these phrases we have, and they
Mm-hmm.
seem all energy flow, yeah, focus, blah, blah, like, no. I mean, literally, this is science. This isn't spirituality, hocus pocus, da 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 da. This is physics.
It is.
Proven
Yep.
quantum mechanics, physics. And you cannot deny it. It cannot be proven wrong. It is real. And if we know that, then the only thing that would prevent us from creating that of what we want is really around our worth. Because, and that'll be a whole nother show and segment. We'll do that for a follow-up. But because, if you're not having the awareness and wanting to reframe your thoughts and your beliefs, then you're okay with what you're going to create and receive for an experience. And like we said earlier, there's no right or wrong or good or bad. If you want to be in catabolic energy and have a frequency of that and have those experiences and the emotions and feelings that come with that through your free will, then you can. It's still serving the greater good. God is still receiving the experience of your expression as an energetic being that is receiving emotions, that of what is opposite of what is the truest reality, unconditional love. And through the experience of that of what is not true, confirms what is true. It serves. And it's just, you're going to have to ask yourself, what is the experience that I want to have? That's your free will. What emotions, what feelings, what states of being do I want to be in as I traverse through this void of space that's creating physical reality around me at all times? And how do I want to feel while that's happening? And if the answer is I want to feel joy, I want to feel peace, I want to feel harmony, that is what we're called to. That's the great calling. That's calling us home. That's calling us to unity consciousness, which is pure unconditional love, all that there is. Anything other than love does not exist. But moving through that of what does not exist lets us know that love is there. For without the contrast, how are we to know what really is without anything to base it against? So this is the big self-expression of being able to know what we truly are by moving away from it and then moving back to it. And some of us are in the journey of just moving away from it. And that's totally okay. And to allow and not to get attached to their story and entangle within their story and where they're at on their journey of their self-expression of being separate from source of God.
Right. It's not for us to judge, which brings down our energy. So, and that just dovetails so beautifully with my mission of just bringing humanity together at all levels and all cultures and so much. And that this, again, is another tangent, but just so people understand this bigger picture really is that we are all one, and we're all brothers and sisters, and we're all just these spiritual beings that are these fragmented expressions of God. And so if we start to shift our thinking and start to look at life that way and our experience here, then all of a sudden we're not so different than anybody out there. And we can look at people with completely different views, whether it's political or otherwise, and say, I respect their view. It's not my view. That's their free will. This is my free will. And so I think there's just a great amount of tolerance and people that can live in their hearts with love and unconditional love and move toward that. And that's certainly the path that I'm on. It doesn't need to be for other people, but again, that's why you are here, is to help us in that shift of our thinking, so we do become more aware. So can you talk more about emotion, like energy and motion? So when we manifest and we attach that emotion to it, what makes that so powerful?
Absolutely. And I want to add one thing to the unity consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
that we are all one. We are all source God,
Mm-hmm.
that are individualized in our expression in physical form, and that we are sovereign beings. We are still sovereign within our own energy capacity, but we are still all one unity consciousness. And because what's interesting is we are moving into a new era and a new way of being, which is unity coming into the understanding and the awareness that we are all one. Like, not just the Beatles song, the Beatles got it. They shared that. That message was coming in years earlier in the 60s to prepare us for what we're moving through now. So much music will be able to see that message in. But the thing that's important, because people can get lost in, people want their individuality. They want to have their expression. And that doesn't go away with the knowledge of knowing that you are unity consciousness, that we are all one. You still get to be able to come in as a sovereign being with your own belief systems, your own expression, your own path. And in that, you are going to be honored to have that without judgment because of unity consciousness. I just think that that's so powerful. So thank you so much for sharing that. It's beautiful. And thank you for what you do and what you are doing to allow a community and for us to be able to come together in unity, but have our individual self-expression for that at the same time. It's just really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Emotions and how that ties into manifestation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And or frequency. So we are energy light beings at our purest essence, that of what creates us as a unity, right? We are also emotional beings, as we are a fractal light of God that agreed to concentrate our awareness in our energy to come in physical form and to move through this physical reality. The agreement that we made was to forget that we are God's source and the creator within the creation we've created. And in that forgetting of that, that we would also be emotional beings, meaning while we are here in this very low density frequency, everything moves slower, which gives the ability for more sense of emotions and feelings to occur. When that's happening, and the reason for that is, number one, we are here to learn empathy and compassion for our brothers and sisters and to service in all dimensions. It is also what anchors in the quantum field to move and start to create the physical reality and experiences around us based upon the frequency and the consciousness we're at, and then the feeling and the emotion that comes with that. The feeling and the emotion is kind of like a magnifier or an anchor into the physical form that really is the signal. So you have the frequency that goes out, and then the emotion and the frequency. This is better, it's coming into me. The emotion and the emotion that comes into that. The universe doesn't know what is physically real and happening and what isn't. The universe doesn't know that your imagination is just the imagination and the physical form hasn't happened yet. Okay. And when you combine feelings and emotions with your vision of that of what you want to create, you're holding that vision. Now you're feeling it as if it's already happened. The emotion of joy, the excitement of driving the car, of feeling the steering wheel, turning on the radio, the sensory that you receive, and the excitement of being in that car. It's always the car we use in manifestations, right?
For men.
But okay, there you go. Yeah. Well, my lease is up too, so
Yeah,
there's probably
yeah.
some of that going on for
Yeah.
me.
Most men I
But
know, well, do you know so and so? Like, they'll say, well, what kind of car do they drive? How they ID each other.
yeah,
True story. Sorry, slight
that's awesome.
segue.
That's so good.
uh,
But as we're imagining that, right,
yeah.
the emotion and the feeling that comes with it, the universe thinks that it's already happening. Okay, so it works overtime to create the physical, bring all the elements and the atoms and the everything to come in to create form of the physical form to meet the experience that you've had within your imagination, because it is the frequency and the feeling and the emotion that creates it as if it's already happened. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. It reminds me of a conversation we had about and this goes back to quantum physics, which is all of these realities already exist.
Oh, yes.
Right. So can you share your wisdom around the frames that we can pull toward us? I just
Yeah.
love that
Okay,
story.
good.
Please.
Yeah, so ooh. It's kind of big concept, right? I mean,
Yeah, it
this will
is.
expand your mind. This will
Mm-hmm.
expand your reality. This is working in the understanding of different dimensions. So we are in a third dimension, traveling, using the fourth dimension as a bridge into the fifth dimension and above. We're talking about time. And the reason why we're talking about time is because time is an illusion of how we understand how it works in the third dimension that we are all in and operating in. As we're having this conversation and people will find us, we'll be in the third, fourth, and fifth dimension. But time in the third dimension is linear. It's moving from point A to point B. It takes time to move that. If we understand what time is in the fifth dimension or higher, it's actually a tool to be able to move and to travel, to move to different timelines. So in any given moment that you have a choice, there is splintering offs of different timelines, of different realities that you can move through. And every single time you make a choice, you have taken your energy body that you have focused into this physical form to focus onto one particular timeline. But other timelines are occurring simultaneously at the same time. You're not bringing your awareness or your focus there because you made a choice to move in one particular timeline. There's that. Knowing that, we can understand that anything and everything that we could ever imagine is already there. It's done. Nothing is happening linear. Everything that is happening all right now in one moment, all at the same time, all an expression that allows the expression of all reality possibilities to occur. That is why God chose to separate from himself to be able to experience all that what he already knows, which is all the different timelines. That being said, when you're manifesting, what you're doing is you're not manifesting and then working to bring this in to your experience. What you are visioning, what you're manifesting, that of what you desire is already out there and created. You are just stepping into a timeline and a frequency and an emotional match with that timeline that is going to draw these individual frames of experience to you to create the expression in the physical form. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
It was a
perfect
little,
sense.
I'm going to read this to you because this was channeled and I shared this with you.
Yes.
And this condenses it a lot better than I did because it sits right here on my desk as well. You're just being the frame of your chosen timeline that comes towards you. It all comes to you. Stream of consciousness coming to you, coming towards you. So essentially what that means is you can just be and allow. You don't have to work in your manifestation. Anything that you desire is a point in time, it's a frame in the expression of life that's coming towards you. And if you desire it, it is already there. You just have to match it frequency and you allow it to move towards you for the expression and the experience to happen. Is that?
Yeah, what I love about that is it doesn't have to be hard, right? We think, oh, we want to go after this, we want to do this, we want to accomplish this. These are our desires, and it's got to work at it. It's got to be hard. But that's a belief system, isn't it?
It is. Absolutely right. You know, and we'll be remiss if we didn't kind of really talk about like the 4 steps. I don't know what you desire. This is the very first thing. What is it that you desire? What do you want to create? You are a creator through that of what you desire. So we used to create and know what our desires are from that of what I do not want. It's a very third dimensional way of creating and manifesting. Rather than creating an experience that I don't want to have and then want to move away from that to move into what I want, why don't you just go inward and do some soul searching and find out exactly how you want to live and how you want to be and start creating in your imagination and moving from that rather than trying to get away from something to get to somewhere. Really, this is moving into what is your divine life plan. What are your soul agreements? Like, what are your soul contracts? What is divinely meant for you to experience? Go there. So you don't have to go through the back and forth of, I don't want that, so now I want this, and I'll move there. But knowing what your desire is, then seeing it, picturing it, visioning it, smelling it, tasting it, going through the visible, what we talked about already, and the emotion that comes with it already being in form. Your belief that it is already done and here for you is what manifests it. Your belief and your knowing that you are a manifester, number one, that you are a creator, you are manifesting and creating at all times. Now you're just going to bring awareness around it. And through that of what I want, if I believe that it is already done in mind because it is already created out there, if I can think it, it wants me. If I desire it, it is created, it is there, and it wants me. When I believe that and I have the emotions, now I match its frequency. It's being drawn to me. The next step in this is to let it go.
Trust.
Because as soon as you come out of that experience, your meditation or your daydreaming, whatever you want to do, and you come out of that, well, now you're not feeling that you have it, right? The next thing is the next day, you're going to be like, ooh, that was cool, but I want that and I don't have it. If the wanting of it is going to always push it out away from you. It will not draw it to you because you're wanting it. And so this is the trickiest part in really coming into your awareness of your thoughts again, because you just have to know. It's like when you plant a seed, when a farmer plants the seed into his soil, he doesn't go out there every day and where's my ear of corn? Where is that? Should be here. I planted this. I want it. I want the ear of corn. I want the ear of corn. So bad. It's bad. I planted the seed. Why isn't it here? No. He knows there's a gestation period, right? And he knows that seed is going to turn to corn. The belief system is done. He knows this, so he can just let that go. Now he can go and he can plant, and now he can go do other things on the farm. He can do whatever. He can go have lunch in the town, whatever he's going to go do. He's going to go enjoy himself. He can relax and just let that go and to germinate. Then when it comes into form, when you are receiving the manifestation in physical form, now we have this expectation of, aha, life is done, grand, this is all I wanted, this is going to fix everything. As soon as I got this, that's all I was going to need, and I was going to be happy and joyful for the rest of my life. It doesn't work that way. Now, so that can ruin the celebration of the manifestation. It can ruin the joy or the gratitude of it. And then through that, then we want to manifest again. And we can get into this feeling of lack of depletion. So it's, what are you manifesting for? Are you filling the void within you with something that you want to manifest in the physical world? Because you are going to get caught into a loop of unsatisfactory, of not being fulfilled, of always trying to create and pull from the outside world to fill an inner void. And that inner void that you're trying to fill with outside material items, manifestations and creations, is the separation from source, that unity consciousness that we're talking about. So if you can step into your unity consciousness, that I am a fractal light of God, the creator within my own creation that I've created, that I am one with consciousness, that whatever I manifest is not that of what is to fulfill me, that this is the playground, that this is the funness of creating, and that I get to create it and let it go, that I am not tied to anything that I create, that it was really about just the process and the creation, because that is the evolution of consciousness, is through the process of creation and what it means to create. To want something, then to release it and to believe and to let it come in and then have it be and to experience and then to let that go again. So you can start the whole process again. This is really, truly understanding manifestation. Most time we just focus on the first three, right? Like, okay, what do you want? Focus on it, see it, smell it, taste it, have the emotion, it's there. And then the detachment, right? Involved detachment. Be involved, but completely detached from the process, the way, and what manifests, what comes in. If you release, if you let that go, detach from what will materialize and the process, source, God, higher spirit, it will deliver beyond your imagination. For it can know what will serve you and what will bring you to your highest good when you kind of step and get out of the way, and to allow it to really bring it in, that of what will serve you for your highest good and that of the collective. And then asking if this is divinely meant for me, and if it can come in within grace and with ease, then I'm all in, bring it in. And if not, then bring in that what is of the highest good for me and of the collective. Florence Scovel Shinn, a beautiful author, a Christian prosperity mystic, and she has a couple books out there. One is the writings of Florence Scovel Shinn, and another one is The Game of Life and How to Play It. And just beautiful affirmations, beautiful truths. And if you really want to learn and explore manifesting and having prosperity and having that be just your way of life, she was born in the 1870s and lived to the 1940s, did workshops, traveled across the United States on prosperity and teachings. And her work is just phenomenal. I think it's like a lost little art, lost book out there. And she came through in a channel to me in September, October. And so she's super powerful. And a great way, reading a book is a great way to raise your level of energy and consciousness as well, that we were talking about earlier.
Yes, well, thanks to you. I have her book in my library, my new spiritual library that I'm developing, and my little stack of to read next. So that'll be coming up. And one thing that you said that I thought was so interesting is this kind of loop after setting your intentions and going through the manifestation process is really, what is in it for the greater good of all. I just think that's so beautiful, because then it can come in with ease if it's divinely inspired. And the other point that you made about, why didn't I get this? Why isn't this happening fast enough? Is just, people are manifesting lack at that point, aren't they?
They're pushing it out away.
Pushing it out. Because I don't
Right.
have this. I
So
don't have enough. This
it's a
didn't
belief.
happen. Right.
The belief, you have to believe that it's already done and there. The power that you hold, we are more powerful than we could ever realize. We are a fractal light of God that is a creator within our own creation. We created this whole experience for us to be able to come in and to create within. The first law is the law of attraction. We're creators. We created this universe with this law of attraction, which means I can draw to me that of what I want and like and create with it. You know how powerful that is? Anything you want, you can create and experience anything. Now, why aren't we doing it? Is the better question. Because you don't believe you can.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, yeah, I can manifest McDonald's to be delivered to my door. Now that is an amazing thing. You want to look how far we've come as a race, as a human race, and what we manifest and the power that we do and hold.
Mm-hmm.
We used to be rolling around in wagons with soup carts, starving, trying to get from place to place. Food didn't magically appear in front of us. Think how we just manifest food. Now, I'm touchy subject here. We're in America, we're prosperous. I get all of that. But again, this will come into belief systems
Mm-hmm.
and the conditioning of our culture, of our society, of our religion, of our parents, and the collective consciousness. So we have our individual soul being that is fractal light of God, which is so powerful. And then we have the collective consciousness, which is the average resonating consciousness of all of humanity together. The collective consciousness can create boundaries and barriers because it is a foundation of energy in which we are working from. So people like yourself and me, anyone who is looking to raise their level of consciousness, by one person at a time, as they raise their level of consciousness, is affecting the collective grid. Mm-hmm. And that is going to also help then affect the speed of manifestation, what we're able to manifest. But we are sovereign beings in the unity consciousness. And in that sovereign being, through my belief systems and what I know, if I detach from this physical world through meditation and fall into the space of the void, and I manifest from there, where no longer any of the collective belief systems or any belief system that was imprinted upon my physical being on the subconscious level, and I were able to wipe that completely out and just work and manifest from the purest form of the void of the quantum field, and I believe it, you can manifest anything. This is the training. This is the training in your belief system. This is moving from the third dimension into the fifth dimension. This is the great shift. This is the heaven on earth. This is the new earth. This is the third to the fifth, is coming in and understanding you are God creator. And within that, you have zero limits. It will create a whole new reality and a shift in collective consciousness. Imagine when the collective consciousness is at a high vibration and frequency of creation and manifestation and pure unconditional love. because you cannot move into a fifth dimension unless your vibration and frequency. You cannot be in your full sovereign power as the creator unless you are unconditional love, unless you are non-judgment. If you are in judgment, if you are not able to be in unconditional love, if you are in judgment of yourself, if you can't provide self-love to yourself as God creator, then you will not be able to, you will not be at a vibration and a frequency that affords the gifts to be able to manifest at that kind of level. You will have to be in a state of being of love. You have to be the state of being of joy. You don't have to do anything, but if these are the things you want to acquire and to have an expression and an experience in your manifested form, then these are states of allowance. You allow yourself to be a state of love, unconditional love. I am love. Yes. And as we do that, that will move us into, that is the fifth dimension. It's where you step into your power. And this is the grand shift. This is what we're all moving through at this particular time, one person at a time through free will. How that goes.
Yeah. I love what you say about how it just takes showing up, right? Just mere and sheer presence. And I think you do such a beautiful job of explaining it, because it is such a big, it's such a big concept, right? But breaking it down into all the different parts and how it interrelates. I think this is something people can listen to a few times and get a little more out of it. I know that certain things that I read, I'll go back and look at it again. And just so for if some of this is really new for some of you out there listening, like listen to it, just kind of let it resonate, use what works for you. Listen again, like it's an evolutionary process. And I know for me, I've been working for years to understand and to grow. It is definitely growing evolutionary process. And what are some of the things, like, how do we know that these manifestations are coming our way? You told me once about, the sticks and the leaves and the.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
I do. I would love to leave people with that today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and I always like to kind of expand a little bit on what you just shared too.
Please, of course.
There is no effort and work in any of this. It is really allowance. And that allowance is really self-love. So, and I'm not talking about your physical self. I would love for you to look past your physical body. I would love for you to be able to see the light being that you are, to be able to look maybe through the third eye or into the heart center, and to focus into that area and to really feel genuine love for the light being that chose to come here and manifest into your physical body, that chose the DNA to be able to manifest physical form. Think about that. Your soul has manifested your physical form. That's a manifestation as well. Yeah. So it is really allowing, and how you allow is through love, because you can allow when you are in power, when you are in trust. You have everything you will ever need and more right now. It is all within you. There is nothing that you need. So you have trust and you have love for that, because you have it all already. You just have to allow it to move to you in the frame points of time that we talked about. In the manifestation process, a lot of times what can happen, and this is from Florence Scovel Shinn, and when we're allowing manifestation to come in, sometimes right before it is to manifest and to come, we give up. We don't think it's coming. The gestation period is just too long. We don't have the patience. We lose our belief system. And it's because we kind of were probably pushing it out because we were wanting it so badly, right? So it's, that understanding. What can happen is sometimes before the manifestation, not of what you want, you may, Florence Scovel Shinn is like, you're out on a raft at sea, right? You're on a raft out at sea, kind of stranded, just bobbing around, floating out there. You're going to want to manifest some land, right?
Yeah.
I want some land. And I will, that'd be great. Get me off of this raft. I'm thirsty, all of it. So you're gonna visualize the land. You're gonna go through the whole process of what we talked about. And as this is happening, you're floating along. And before you might actually see the manifested land that you're calling in, is you may first see leaves floating in the water, or a stick or a twig floating by, or birds that might be coming through, because birds are a sign of land. And you might look at that, and those are the signs. These are the little synchronicities that Spirit wants to let you know. So be on the lookout for the little signs so that you don't get discouraged and give up. It's supporting you in your belief system. Not only that, now sometimes you may get like a twig floating by and what you're trying to manifest. Like say you're manifesting the love of your life. You're calling in your twin flame. You're calling in your soulmate, right? And what may happen is along the way, you may get some people who come in and are showing you a lot of attention and are kind of showering you with the attention that you want from the soulmate. You're like, oh my God, okay, is this it? Is this again? And then you're like, okay, no, you're not it. Like you're not showing up, or there's a trait, or there's something there that isn't in the full capacity of showing you what your worth is. Now you have free will that you might just go with that, because you may mistake that for your manifestation of what it is, rather than really paying attention. And you may be just grabbing onto a stick thinking that it's land, where really it was just a sign to show you you're in the right vibration, you're in the right frequency, your emotions are there, you're getting the attention. Now you have to use your discernment. You have to fall into your place of worth to really call in that of what you truly desire, that is the true match for you. Not just to grab the next stick that comes along to think that that's your land, right? It is to have discernment and in that space of allowance to really for it to come through.
That's so funny, Ryan. That is exactly what happened before I met my husband. I hung out with a stick for a few months too long.
But you did put the stick down, so we got to congratulate you on that.
I threw the stick across the lake is what I did. I put the stick down. So anyway, Ryan, this is wonderful. I love how you are just able to expand our awareness and our thinking. How can people find you after they listen to us here?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best way to really get in contact with me, to follow me, to see any of my content, free content, is through Facebook. It's the platform that I use. It's the easiest to be able to get some of my free workshops and things that are out there. So I am on Facebook. My regular Facebook profile is Ryan R. Wilaby. And then I have a business page as well, which is Ryan Wilaby. And you can go to both of them. I am close probably to my friend limit on Facebook, but you can friend request me, because I go through and I try to clean out and create more room for those that are coming in and really using the resources. If you're not able to get on there as a friend request, you can always just follow and you're going to get the same content. So I've done some free workshops over like a 3-day period. I have a heart activation workshop where I guide people through meditations. You can find day 1 of that free workshop on my business page, Ryan Wilaby, and I've pinned that to the top. And it is a super powerful 3-day experience. There are 3 workshops over a 3-day period. You could listen to them all in one day if you wanted to. But they have guided meditations in them that are they're encoded to activate your chakra system and to really open up your heart center. And this is where we are bringing in the masculine and feminine energies, grounding from Mother Earth, bringing in from source ethers, the masculine energies, bringing that in. This is coming into wholeness, holy, bringing in and having the masculine and feminine energies move through our column of light and to activate into our heart chakra center. This will open you up and raise your energetic blueprint. It will also allow you to open up to receive what is divinely meant for you. Super powerful. You can find that over on the business page. And there's other content and things that I do as well. And if you're interested in reaching out to me to have a conversation with me about what it would look like to work together, you can reach me at my email, which is coachwilaby@gmail.com. And Wilaby is Wilaby.
Fantastic. Yes. And I follow you on Facebook, and I actually did one of your heart meditations. I don't know that I shared that with you before, but it was quite
Awesome.
beautiful, and we'll do more. So thank you, Ryan, so much. And thank you everyone for joining us on Toni Talks Humanity Matters. Be sure to subscribe, check out Ryan on Facebook, and also ToniJulian.com. I will put all of these links below. So if you don't want to write them down, you can just click on them. So just wishing you a lot of goodness and blessings from us, from our heart to yours. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.